It started as just another ordinary day on our family farm, one of those peaceful mornings when the sun lazily crests over the horizon and the animals stir in their pens, stretching and yawning. But that morning, my sister Emma had an idea. And as always, it was something unexpected. Emma had always been the adventurous one, the one who dreamed up crazy schemes and pulled us into them. Normally, we'd laugh and dismiss her ideas. But this time was different. What she wanted to do with Benny, our donkey, wasn't something any of us had ever considered before. Benny wasn't just any donkey. He'd been with us since he was a foal, growing up alongside us, like a quirky, stubborn member of the family. He wasn't the easiest animal to handle. He had a mind of his own and wasn't afraid to use it. But there was something unique about him, something that made us sometimes wonder if he was a little smarter than your average farm animal. Emma, of course, thought Benny was capable of far more than any of us realized. Over the years, she'd developed a special bond with him, an almost uncanny connection. She could read his moods, predict his next move, and even calm him down when he was being particularly stubborn. But this was different. She came running into the kitchen that morning, practically vibrating with excitement. "I want to try something with Benny," she said, barely taking a breath. "Something no one would expect." Mom raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "As long as it's safe," she warned, knowing how unpredictable Emma's ideas could be. I wasn't sure what to think. Benny wasn't dangerous, but he wasn't exactly a pushover either. Still, there was a strange conviction in Emma's voice, and I couldn't shake the feeling she was on to something. We followed her outside, curious but a little uneasy. Emma approached Benny slowly, her eyes locked on his as if they were speaking without words. She whispered something to him, something none of us could hear. Benny flicked his ears, staring at her as if he understood every word. And then it happened. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Benny did something none of us thought was possible. I felt my heart pound in my chest, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. Emma turned to us, her face glowing with triumph. "See, I told you he could do it," she said, grinning. None of us could believe our eyes. Benny had just performed an action, without hesitation, that seemed impossible. I swallowed hard, my mind reeling. What did you do?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. Emma looked at me, her eyes twinkling. "I didn't do anything," she said, with a small smile. "I just asked him." I frowned, trying to make sense of her words. "Asked him what?" Emma hesitated for a moment, her gaze flickering to Benny. "I've been watching him for months," she said slowly. "There are things he does, small things, that make me think he understands more than we give him credit for. So I wanted to see if he could respond to a direct command." My stomach tightened. What she was saying sounded crazy, but the evidence was right there in front of us. Benny had just done something we couldn't explain. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Benny's response to Emma, the way he'd reacted like he understood exactly what she wanted. But how was that possible? The next morning, I found Emma outside with Benny again, crouched in front of him, whispering softly. I approached cautiously, my heart racing. "What are you doing?" "I'm testing something," Emma said, not looking up. "Testing what?" I asked, now genuinely curious. Emma turned to me, her expression serious. "I think Benny can follow real instructions, complicated commands, not just tricks." I shook my head. Like Like training a dog? No, she said firmly. It's different. He's not just following a cue. I think he understands us in a way we've never realized before. Before I could argue, Emma turned back to Benny and asked him to do something even more complicated. Benny blinked, took a deep breath, and then, without hesitation, did exactly what she'd asked. I gasped. This was real. Benny wasn't just doing tricks. He was responding like he knew exactly what was happening, like he understood Emma on a deeper level. Over the next few days, Emma kept testing Benny. Sometimes it was simple things, asking him to move left or right, to stop or start walking. But then she pushed further, asking him to recognize people, find objects, even react to emotions. And every time, Benny responded, calmly, deliberately, like he was following a set of instructions. Mom began to watch, her skepticism slowly turning into concern. I don't want you to get carried away, she warned Emma one night. Animals are smart, but there's a limit. But Emma just smiled. What if there isn't? That evening, everything changed. Emma was in the field with Benny, pushing him to do something more complicated, when the air shifted. The sky was darkening, the wind picking up. I could feel something was off. Then Benny did something that made my stomach drop. His ears flattened against his head, his body tense. He wasn't just reacting to the wind or the approaching storm. He was reacting to something unseen, something in the distance. Emma reached out to calm him, but Benny suddenly bolted. He wasn't running in fear. He was running with purpose. Benny, wait, Emma shouted, sprinting after him. I hesitated for a moment before following, my heart hammering in my chest. The storm was growing closer, the air thick with tension. Benny was moving fast through the brush, and when I caught up to him, I saw what had made him stop. In the shadows of the trees stood a figure, a hunched silhouette barely visible in the dim light. My stomach twisted. Do you see that? Emma whispered. I nodded, dread creeping up my spine. Benny stood between us and the figure, his body rigid, his gaze locked on them. He wasn't just protecting us. He was trying to warn us. And then the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that made my blood run cold. It was Mr. Dorson, our neighbor from down the road. His clothes were dirty, his face streaked with sweat and dust, and he looked just as surprised to see us as we were to see him. What are you doing out here? Emma demanded, her voice steady, despite the fear in her eyes. Mr. Dorson raised his hands, trying to explain. I wasn't hiding, he muttered, avoiding our gaze. I was looking for something. Benny snorted, stepping closer, not allowing Mr. Dorson to move. His hooves stamped against the dirt, a low rumble of warning vibrating through the air. Emma stepped forward. You were hiding, she said flatly. Why? Mr. Dorson hesitated before letting out a long breath. I took something, he admitted, his voice heavy with shame. Some tools from your farm. I was going to return them, but then things got complicated. I looked at the sack lying half buried in the brush. My stomach churned. Benny had led us here. He'd caught Mr. Dorson in the act. You stole from us? Emma asked, incredulous. Mr. Dorson's face went pale. I didn't mean to. I was desperate. The rain started to pour, and the wind howled through the trees, but Benny stood his ground. He wasn't going to let Mr. Dorson leave until the truth was out. Eventually, Emma let out a sigh and shook her head. Just take it and go home, she said quietly. But next time, ask. Mr. Dorson nodded quickly, grabbing the sack and disappearing into the storm without another word. As we walked back to the house, Soaking wet and shaken, I couldn't help but feel like Benny had taught us something important, not just about him, but about trust, about listening, and about paying attention to the things we usually overlook. And from that day on, none of us ever doubted Benny again.